the step-by-step process of drawing a portrait of a classic Disney character. As you walked in, you're greeted by Ryan. He's here to help you out. Mainly if your pencil breaks, that's about the worst thing that's going to happen. There's quite a few empty boards, so feel free to go ahead and grab one of those pencils from there as well. And he's also collecting that extra paper at the end of the row, so be sure to pass that on down, and any extras he'll grab. If you do need to leave the class for any reason at all, not a problem. We have our double green exit doors up at the top of the stairs there. Opposite those doors you walked into, just keep in mind if you leave this class session early, you won't be able to return. Now while you're still getting organized with that paper, here's a quick behind-the-scenes look of a film that will be out later this summer.
Director of Monsters University. We are so excited to have both Billy Crystal and John Goodman back, reprising their roles as Mike Wazowski and James P. Sullivan. Monsters University is the story of how Mike and Sully met. They were not friends when they met originally, they were enemies.
I'm gonna scare circles around you.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
Both wanted to be scarers, and in the monster world, being a scarer is like being an astronaut or a football star. Mike and Sully's rivalry really comes to a head when both guys show up at Monsters University, both trying to become scarers. In Monsters University, we are just filling this world with new characters. We even have one of those students who's not quite sure what he should be, and we're not quite sure what he is either. We just wanted to explore as much as we can the monsterization of college and the college character. We even have a mascot, Archie the Scare Pig. Okay, I don't want to give too much away, but I can tell you that Monsters University is going to be a fun adventure with humor, heart, and the high GPA you've come to expect from a Pixar graduate.
Is that a joke? Tell me you're joking.
I love college.
So that is Monsters University. It's out June 21st, so definitely keep an eye out for that. But for today, we're drawing a character who was created by Walt Disney himself a whole year before Mickey Mouse. Mainly, the whole story behind it was that he lost the rights to this character to Universal. Well, back in 2006, he did get the rights back, and they even started him in a video game called Epic Mickey, and he has his own filling station up in the Buena Vista Street. So today, we are drawing a portrait of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Do we have any Oswald fans out there? Quite a few of you. Awesome. It's great to see fans. Now to start off the portrait, we're going to be sketching in a circle very lightly towards the front, or towards the bottom right-hand side of our page here. Because he's a lucky rabbit, he has very long ears, so you want to save some room for that. So instead of the center, just go down to the bottom right just a little bit here and sketch in a circle about the size of a softball or a grapefruit, and just keep it pretty light and messy. We're sketching it in very lightly because I'm sure you realize we're missing erasers on the ends of our pencils. That's because this is a sketch class. You draw lots of light, messy lines on your page, and then you go back in and darken in those features you want to keep for later on. So as long as you keep this light and messy in the beginning, you don't have to worry about erasing any mistakes that you think you might have made. Now once you have a circle you can work with, we're going to divide it up using a couple of construction lines. These are guidelines we use to help place some features we'll be adding in later on. Now the trick is he's not looking straight out towards us. He's going to be turned just a little bit. So these lines are going to have a slight curve to them. We're going to go from the top to bottom here, and this is going to curve out towards the right-hand side. You can think of this as drawing a line on the surface of a ball. Then we're going to go from left to right. This is going to curve down just a little bit. So it should look like a beach ball bouncing around on your page. And once you have that, we have our basic foundation for Oswald. So now we can start placing in all our major features. Now the first feature we're going to add in is going to be a great anchor point because a lot of the other features built in around it. And it's going to be one of the only features besides his ears that actually stick outside of the circle. So we're going to go ahead very lightly, sketch in an oval right where these construction lines meet. And you want it to stick out on the right hand side just a little bit. And when we go back in to darken it into place, we're actually going to shape it up a little bit more. We're going to flatten out the top of this oval using that construction line. So you just darken in the top portion there, and then you darken in the rest of the oval all the way around. So when you have what kind of looks like a little jelly bean here, we have Oswald's nose in place. And with his nose in place, we can move on to his smile. He's going to be smiling really big for us. In fact, it takes up the whole bottom portion of that circle that we created. So we're going to add in a few anchor points to help us out. The first anchor point is going to be a smile line. You smile really big, you push up on your cheek and you get that little crease in the corner there. So on the left-hand side of our circle, right along that horizontal construction line, just place in a small rainbow. That's going to show the crease. Then underneath the nose, you just want to place a small little dot. And then you're going to connect these 2 points using a letter U. Now I suggest turning those boards on your lap so you can get nice fluid motion going with this. Animators have this rotating disc on their desk that they're able to turn to help make sure that they're not trying to strain their arm in weird ways to get just the right angle for their portrait. Now, as I mentioned, he's a very happy-go-lucky character and he's going to be smiling really big, so we need to go back in and open up his smile a bit more by adding in another letter U. This one's going to go about from right by that smile line and just stretches across towards that construction line there, almost touching the bottom of your circle. I'll sketch it in lightly, and then when it looks good, I'll go back in and lock it into place. Now with his mouth wide open, there'll be another feature we can see sitting right along the bottom there, and that's going to be his tongue. This takes up about half the space inside of that letter U we just created. It looks like 2 small hills. So I'm going to stretch it from the left-hand side right on out towards the middle with that first hill, and then another hill closing it up on the right. If you want to shade the inside of his mouth just to give a little contrast to your portrait, you're more than welcome to. It helps the tongue stand out a bit more. Helps show that his mouth is wide open. Now we're going to go ahead and close up the bottom portion of his face. So we're going to also add in his cheek as well. Now his cheek's very simple. It's just recreating that rainbow we sketched in earlier. And this helps show that he is smiling even bigger, pushing up on that cheek. So you're going to make an even bigger rainbow, just stretching from the side of that circle up and over into the circle there. And then to close off the bottom, you're just following along that circle. So if you need to adjust it a little bit, maybe make it a little bit bigger or smaller, just wrap it all the way around until you meet that nose. Now once you've locked in the bottom portion of his face, we're a little less than halfway finished with our portrait of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Just a few more steps and we'll be complete here. And at this point, hopefully you are seeing some similarities between him and Mickey Mouse. But I do want to check in on everyone. How's everyone holding up so far? Good. All right, I see some thumbs up out there. Perfect. Well, now we're going to move on. We're going to wake up our Oswald, add in the most expressive part of any character, and that's, of course, the character's eyes. Now, he has what we call the classic pie-cut eyes. You can see this over at Mickey's Fun Mill in Paradise Pier. They're these very large ovals which will look like slices of pie cut out of them, or you can even think of them as Pac-Man. We're going to sketch in a couple of ovals very lightly, and then we'll add in those little slits to create those pie-cut eyes. The first eye is going to be resting along this horizontal construction line. If you go from the top of this tongue right on up to that construction line, that's where that base of the eye will be sitting. I'm just going to very lightly sketch in a tall oval here. And then for the right eye, it's going to rest right on top of the nose, right next to that construction line, but it's just going to be a little bit shorter. Since he's turning away from us, it's going to appear that this eye is smaller, so this is going to help with that perspective for our portrait. And then you go right back in along the left-hand side and place in a sideways letter V. And that is how you will get those pie-cut eyes. So then you just go back in and darken in the part of the oval that you like best for his eyes. And then you also want to go back in and color these in as well, making it the darkest part of your portrait. Since that's where all that emotion lies, you want to make that the first thing that you're drawn to, so just press a little harder with your pencil to get these really pop out and grab all that focus and attention. And when you get those eyes in there nice and dark, we're going to add in another feature here that helps with pulling attention to his eyes, and that is his mask. You can see it on Mickey at the front of class, or even our smaller Oswald underneath the screen there. There's a heart-shaped frame that goes around their eyes that helps pull attention to the eyes, but also acts like their eyebrows, so it changes with the emotion. He's happy, so it's going to be sitting further back on his forehead, but if he ever gets angry or sad, that's when it's going to get more angled and droop down closer over his eyes. So we're going to add in two more arches, just like we did for his cheek, but they're going to be a bit higher and closer towards the top of our circle to add in that mask. So I'm going to go back to his cheek. I'm going to stretch in an arch, stretching up towards the top of the circle, landing along that vertical construction line there. Just wraps right around that eye. And then from that construction line to the edge of the other side of that circle there on the right, adding in a smaller arch. And that will get that end of the mask in place. And all you need to do is darken in the rest of the circle to lock in the rest of his head. So I'm just going to pull the edge of that mask right on down on the right-hand side to the top of his nose, and that closes off that section. I'll go back up to the top here, just finding that circle that works best and locking it into place. So when the circle is locked on in, his head's all finished up, so we're down to our grand finale here. What are we missing? His ears, those really long rabbit ears. Now to get these ears in just the right place, we're going to go ahead and add in a few more construction lines to help us out. They're going to be 2 diagonal lines. You can think of them as a really big letter V. We'll go back to where those 2 original lines met earlier. So right by his nose. And from that point, you're going to stretch out a diagonal line that goes towards the top of his smile, top of his cheek there. And you just want to stretch this out for however long you want to make these ears. And the second one's going to go towards the top of his eye, towards the top of that arch there. And once you have those lines in place, we're going to cap off the ends with a couple of rainbows. Just stretch them right on across. This will be the ends of the ears. And then you want to take the ends of these rainbows and you want to pull them down to meet the top of his head. And as you do, you want to pull them a bit closer together. His ears have a thick to thin look. So when you have them sketched into place, they almost look like a set of baseball bats sticking outside the side of his head. So just pull them right on down there. You want to be careful not to make him too skinny. He doesn't have ears like Goofy or Pluto where they're pretty floppy. They're still pretty thick along the inside there. And when you have those ears in place, if you need to go back in and touch up your portrait at all, darken in any lines that may have faded away, or if you want to do some shading, you're more than welcome to. He's a black and white character, so his ears and his nose and his mask are black, but I definitely suggest you use the side of your pencil. But once you're all done sketching in your portrait, the last mark you need to leave on your page is, of course, going to be your signature. So just want to find a spot and sign away. And with that, you have your very own portrait of Oswald, the lucky rabbit you get to take home as your own souvenir. Now I can see you're still touching up and doing some shading because there are some pretty long ears there, but how did these turn out? Good. All right, how about this? Did you guys have fun? Yeah. Yes, all right. That's what I like to hear, is that you had fun with these. Well, this is our favorite part of class. We want to see how awesome these all turned out. So on the count of 3, let's hold up your portrait nice and high and take a look around because everyone has their own unique art style. So ready? 1, 2, 3. Oswald the lucky rabbit. Let's take a look at these. Very cute down here on the front, started shading in the ears. I like it. Some really big Oswalds out there. Very awesome, nice big smiles. Even have your own sketch pad. I'm impressed. These are looking great. Up at the top, nice dark eyes. These are fabulous. I really like these. What do you think, Ryan?
Good to me.
They do look good. Everyone here has passed the class. Please give yourselves a nice big round of applause. Congratulations, everyone. Well, now that you've passed the class, you're more than welcome to circle background and join us for another one. Who are we sketching next?
Perry.
Perry.
Agent
P. Yes, we are drawing a portrait of Agent P. So if you want to circle background and join us, you're more than welcome to. But if we don't see you, we do hope you have a great day. Goodbye, everyone. Class is dismissed.
A round of applause to Michelle for teaching you folks how to draw Oswald. Thanks very much, Michelle. All right, folks, the drawings are yours to keep. If you don't want them, go ahead and toss them away.